Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Distance Dilemma podcast. My name is Shaun. This is Imran, and this is our long distance friendship podcast. Imran, how have you been over the last week?
I've been good. Our 10th episode, which is pretty mad to think about it. When we only started, it was about the start of the year, just about the
Yeah.
start of the year before that.
So yeah, it's 11 weeks because we missed 1 week, but it feels like we've been doing this like forever now. Like
I feel like I'm a lot more comfortable now. Like if we look back at the start, and when we were doing the first videos for the first week, to show people that like we were starting a podcast. I sent Sean a video of like me trying to like speak to the camera because I'm obviously not used to it. I'm not from a content creator background or music or anything like that. So Sean was wetting himself, like me trying to do 50 takes and breathing controls and everything. But now I feel a lot more comfortable talking to the camera. And the funny thing is, I don't feel that I'm in a space where like I'm on a podcast. I genuinely just feel like I'm just talking to my mate because we talk a lot if we're not texting or on the phone a lot. So to me, every week it's just like catching up with me.
but that's kind of the point of it. That's what like I think that's like the vibe that we want to give off. Like we don't want it to be like super scripted or pro. Like while yeah, like the theme of the podcast is like like the differences in culture and the time differences and like little things like that. Yeah, I also kind of just want to catch up as well and talk about day to day life. And like I know we do and don't do that on the podcast because there's some things that maybe are a bit too intimate that we kind of keep off the podcast, or in the instance of Daredevil where we don't want to spoil it for people that haven't watched it. So like the last like 2 weeks in a row, the second we finish recording the podcast, we jump off and like we'll FaceTime and we'll start just talking about Daredevil for an hour. Then I think we'll record a podcast for a good 40 minutes and then we'll still spend another hour on the phone after that talking about anything else.
Even before we recorded this today, we were on the phone for an hour just trying to sort everything out.
50 minutes just trying to get this sorted out, and just we kept
had complications and technical difficulties, but we're all good. We're ready to go.
We're ready to rock and roll with this. So yeah, I want to just put. I know I said I wouldn't do this on the podcast, but just for the day that's in it.
Please do.
And you guys that are listening on Spotify or listening on a streaming platform, I've got a brand new song out called TV Show. After you listen to this podcast, go over and give it a stream, pop it into your playlists. And
it's a belter.
It is a fucking banger.
Shout out to Keane.
Shout out to Keane, man. Shout out to Keane, shout out to Adam, shout out to Billy. Love the guys in my band. We played a gig last night in the hotel and I am bollocks.
It's nice how it came out though, because you've been sending me like Sean tends to send me like a lot of his recordings or like ideas that he has coming up, and then just gets feedback because he knows I don't bullshit with him. He knows there's songs I like and then there's songs I genuinely don't like. But this was the first one because I had seen him playing it live for the first time as like a trial basis, and then how he's kind of changed it over the past couple of months. But it's probably one of my favorite tracks he's recorded, at least top three.
Yeah, it's like I know it's cliche, but like I think it's like I think this is like cliche for musicians that like their most recent work is always going to be their favorite,
Yeah.
So like that's definitely the case for me with this. And then there's also another new song that we played last night as well, which I haven't sent you. We've not recorded that, but I like to send you stuff. I always send like if I'm working on something recording, I'll always send it to like 5 or 6 people, and I'll purposely send it to some people that aren't musicians or aren't like in that world of like production or live setup and stuff, because you'll pick up on different things. Like you pick up on very different things to what my music friends will, because my music friends will say, oh yeah, like the EQing and the mix and you need to compress this, and like you'll just go, yeah, that verse is shy, but sometimes it needs to be as black and white and as blunt as that, and like I've said this before, I'd rather somebody said I think that song is shy, or I'd rather they say I think what you've done there is shit, than like go like just try and like bullshit and like,
bullshit it off.
I don't mean bullshit, but like try and be nice. Like I would actually rather the constructive feedback. I'd rather go, yeah, what's my favorite? I know you're like that with my song "Live My Life." I know you hate that song, but
it's the only song I don't have my playlist from you.
That's
I've every single song that he has with "Live My Life," and it's not against Sean. That's I mean I think when he gets older and he looks back at his music career, he's going to look at Sean has always progressed. And I think that's what a lot of music is about. When you're starting this cult career for yourself, you want to look at and improve at your craft. it's like anything you do. Like I'm sure every single musician looks back at their first EP or the first thing they've ever made, first single, and then to where they are now, and they're like, oh my god, look at the progression I've made throughout my career. And I'm really invested in music as well. I just wouldn't be not very known on terminology very much. So that's why I like when Shaun and other people that I know that do music send me stuff, because I give them a view from a person not from the background within the music industry. So I'm giving them like a public's view, where like I don't like this verse or da da da. Like
that's also like your target market as well, because you're not always like, if you want to get on the radio, if you want to start selling tickets to big venues, like you're not particularly pitching to other musicians. You're pitching to people who listen to the radio, who are driving to them from their 9 to 5 office jobs every day, or they're doing the school run. Like, you are trying to capture those people as well as, like, you always want to impress your music friends as well. Like, that's why I get keen to do a lot of stuff with music, because Keen's just class,
Yeah.
But yeah, we've talked about my music enough. I've always said I don't want the podcast to be like a whole like, like another outlet for me to promote my music, but just with a week.
Hey, free marketing. Don't hate the player, hate the game.
But, yeah, I'll show about that now. If anybody wants to go listen to it, it's a banger. It's called TV Show, and you can find me on all the socials, Shaun Finn, SHAUNFIN, and I'll shut up about that now. We do have a topic that we want to focus on for the full episode. This is our 10th episode, so we're not going to go as much off the cuff. We're going to kind of keep this, because we've got a lot of stuff to get through. We basically asked a couple of people that we know whether they're like what they missed and what they liked about being in of Ireland. So sorry, I need to phrase that a lot better.
I can actually read the question now if that's easier for you.
Sorry, I made such a ball.
Off the cuff, guys. What are the positives and negatives you find from living abroad from Ireland? Was the question we asked. Again, it's not. We didn't want people to be exact. Talk personally or whatever. It's just off the cusp. What's on the top of their head, and they said it anyway.
Yeah, and he said he isn't a content creator, and he said he's not an influencer. He's not just smashing that much.
There you go. Have that list in front of me.
But
I'm prepared.
I'm making an excuse. I'm fully going to make an excuse. I'm bollocks from the gig last night, so that's why
he's had a busy week, lads. We'll give him a break.
It's why this episode is going to be mostly voice notes from other people, because I am wrecked and I cannot talk. But yeah, we'll get straight into it. This is a friend of mine. We're going to keep things anonymous again, because just to play it safe. Some people not.
And where did they live, or where did they move to?
So this person lived in Thailand, Germany, Qatar, and I think Italy as well. So she's had a lot of experience. She's been around the block in terms of travel and living abroad from Ireland. Cool. So yeah, I'll just let her take it away.
Just a quick one. The biggest thing that I missed about Ireland, and it's so like trivial, pennies. Like every time I came home, all I wanted was new socks and new underwear from pennies. Like that kind of stuff doesn't exist anywhere else. It's wild. So yeah, particularly from Thailand, I always miss pennies, and then just like some like nice brown bread. So yeah, they were kind of the biggest things I missed. And then like obviously depending on where you live, I find there's definitely kind of pros and cons, and like things that are way better and things that are way worse. Like with Germany, everything was just so bloody difficult. Nobody ever wanted to help you, and like in Ireland, every time you ask someone for something, they're always so willing to help. Everyone's super nice, and yeah, people are just a lot friendlier and more willing to help out strangers than in Germany in particular. Also in Italy, I found that Thailand, they're a bit more like us, where they're more willing to help, but the language barrier was obviously a bigger issue there. So yeah, that's a quick one. Not quite as detailed as I was hoping to do, but I am trying to run at the same time.
Shout out to, again, we'll keep it anonymous. Shout out to, I feel so weird, so rude saying shout out to her.
Yeah.
But
it's the amount of people that say about pennies is crazy.
Really? Yeah.
I get that all the girls here as well say.
Do pennies not deliver abroad? Like,
no, they don't do any delivery.
It's Primark and it's JC Penney's over in the States as well.
No. There's no industry in Europe for pennies. There's a pennies in France.
There's a pennies in Barcelona.
Yeah, there's a couple of spots like I think they're in the major cities like Paris. Um, I think there's one in Prague. Like they're kind of just dispersed all over, but I think it's main
Yeah.
cities. Um, I don't like. I never. Socks and stuff like that. Like socks and picking up jocks. Like quick stuff. That's why I probably miss it. But I mean, personally speaking, I couldn't care less. I just remember the lockdown. Remember there was a massive queue outside of Blanche during COVID.
Yeah.
All L ones fucking waiting in line just to buy 50 pairs of eyelashes. Like
Brown bread is a mad shout as well.
brown bread, yeah.
You like a bit of bread. I like brown bread, but
I
like
love brown bread.
you're
Big.
very keen on brown bread. I go through
Just
phases.
when I was younger, my mom was always on me. She always
Brown
like
bread
had it for me in
and
the
like
house.
veg soup is just chef's kiss,
Oh,
and like a
so
heavy
nice,
bit of butter
so
on top
nice.
of that. Love it.
Yeah, I kind of agree with her a little bit about different areas of Europe where people are more inclined to help you. I think that's kind of more people are inclined to help you of their own. So like if you're an Italian and another Italian person, you're more inclined to help them than a tourist. But I don't know. I can't disperse that because in Ireland most people are helpful. Like
I think Imran, what you're describing is called racism. It's called discrimination, my brother.
discrimination. New TED talk. Oh god, yeah.
But yeah, no, I think the Irish do tend to be like detrimentally like helpful. This is like similar to what I was talking about like last week about the psoriasis thing, and like people approach me in public about it. It's like I get not everyone is trying to be rude. I get everyone like some people genuinely are trying to be really helpful, but sometimes I don't know, like so I feel sometimes, especially it's like I find like women, some Irish women in their 40s sometimes can be like reading way too much into situations in public. Like we're even during like we were out for like a family meal for my nana's birthday, and like people just like kept coming up, and like it was lovely, but like feel because like it was my nana and she was like of that generation. If someone like was like coming up to me doing that in a restaurant like that, I would just find that so overstimulating, like but I think it's more
Yeah.
of a generational thing, like
It's
but
the over niceness in Ireland, isn't it?
yeah, it's the thing. It's like kind of that thing of the Irish, like where they try and put their best foot forward. And I've seen loads of videos recently of like lots of tourists that have come over for Paddy's Day, and like everyone's just like raving about how nice we are, like So
There is
yeah,
pros to being Irish.
let's move on to the next voice now because I'm just conscious. Like we have
Yeah, with so many people to get through,
we've a
guys.
lot of people to get through, and like last time we cut it very fine when we done a voice note episode. So
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, so I'm just doing my.
Oh, sorry, that's the exact same person. My bad, guys. My
My
bad.
bad.
What's going on, boys? I've told all my mates to try and move away from Ireland because it's just not in a good state right now for us, for many reasons. But I guess one of the first reasons, or the first things that I like a lot about living abroad is the weather. Like we actually have seasons here. Like I'm in Switzerland now, and we actually have seasons. Whereas in Ireland, it felt like it would be like 4 degrees in winter and then 16, 17 in summers, and it's just not it, lads, to be honest. Um, Whereas here it's a lot nicer, the temperature range is a lot bigger, and secondly, like I can afford to live outside my parents' house. Um, like in Ireland, if I was to leave my parents' house and go and rent an apartment, it wouldn't have been like quite financially smart because you're like earning less, and also the rent is crazy, so you're just slowing your growth, in my opinion. And I'd be in my parents until I'm like 30, or yeah, like 28, 29, to avoid paying like full rent prices if you were to leave home. So yeah, the weather and renting, those would be two. Um, Also you get to see the rest of the world, like in Ireland. Like I didn't want to be in Ireland for like, so I left when I was like in my 20s, like 20, 23 or something, and then being in Ireland for another like 50, 60 years, not moving around, is just like this kind of Um, not my thing in my opinion. So yeah, that's another reason. Um, yeah, experiencing a new culture and stuff like that. Yeah, but at the top of my head, I think that's about it, lads. To be honest, but yeah, best of luck with the podcast. Yous are doing great, and yeah, catch us in a bit.
Gladly. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for that one.
Um,
Yeah, some really good points brought up there. Especially about like cost of living in Ireland at the moment.
yeah, it's a joke. It's really bad.
Yeah, it's
It's kind of sad because I mean I've talked to Shaun about this before. I probably would have never left Ireland if I knew I could have saved and lived with my partner back at home. And that was the choice we decided to make. And I'm starting to really enjoy my life here. Because I'm so close to home, I know I can take a flight home whenever I want. So I do have that luxury, I would say. But I think, as a point of just thinking about my own country, it's really sad that we can't keep people there. And like, I'm sad that like a lot of my friends probably won't be able to move out of their family home till they're in their late 30s, early 40s, if even, and they'll still probably be renting. They won't even own a house, so it's kind of sad.
yeah, it's it's a tough one. I'm really lucky to be in the position I'm in, where
Yeah,
we have our place and stuff. And yeah, it's mad. Another thing you mentioned there was the weather as well, which
we
I
talked
think
about last week as well.
he was more talking about like how it doesn't range much. I think he was kind of like making the point that like the kind of lows here are like 4 degrees and then the peaks are like 16, 17, whereas like elsewhere you're gonna have like much lower lows but much higher highs. Then as well, you
Yeah.
haven't really had the summer over there yet because you guys. Oh no, you have had the summer there. Sorry. I was
Yeah,
thinking
no,
about it.
last year it was really really hot in the summertime, and then it kind of you have like the winters are more November, December, January, and then the spring kind of comes around February. So it like leads in. It's like a later winter, but yeah, I kind of agree with him there on that point. You have more seasons rather than Ireland where it's all the seasons are together. Yeah, so we'll go on to the next one. I
Yeah,
think is that all the ones you have, or you have another?
That's the ones that I have on my.
Okay.
End. So are you reading some out now, or do you want to?
Yeah. I'm gonna read out. I received 2 messages first. So, first person I got it from was living over in China, and he said, like positive being experiences, new cultures, and meeting new people. With those experiences, your values and desires for your own future can change for the better. And then he said one negative aspect, you know yourself, basic shite, like being away from family and friends, you know yourself.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that, the way he kind of worded the positive. You learn new values and experiences, and you can change your own desires for the future to make yourself better. So I think this person's probably focusing a lot on development since he was abroad. And this is actually one of my own mates, and since talking to him, he seems a lot happier in himself, which is nice to see. And I think some people do need to get out of Ireland. The thing is, I don't want to come across like I'm slating Ireland, and at the same time, it is home. Nowhere will ever be home from when you grow up and your friends and your family and the environment. And Ireland is a beautiful country. I don't want to detriment that. But I think it is important for people to move away to get new experiences. And yeah, I'm glad he did anyway. What's your
I
perspective
think
on
that's
that?
important though, regardless of what country you're in. Like you should
Yeah.
go and see the world, and like if it's not feasible to do that while like as like a holiday, going around it's like just the way the world is at the moment. Like like I know it's something I want to do. I want to go and see more countries just to just to say you've been there. Like while you're here in the world, like say you've seen a bit of it. Like like we're planning to go and do like a bigger trip next year. Like we'd love to go to like Tokyo or the US or something like that.
That'd be cool.
This thing where like you kind of have it like a bit better than most, like for the likes of the folks that have moved to Australia or Canada or Beijing and stuff. Like you can, like if something happens tomorrow, you could get on a flight and you could be here.
Yeah.
Well, even today, if something happens after
Yeah.
this call, you could be here by tonight.
It's a luxury.
Yeah, like it is. It's handier in that way, like that you have that. But then there's some people that like, it's a whole like it happens to somebody I know recently where there was something in the family and like the person was on the opposite side of the world and it was like it was a bit of a deal. It was a bit of a big deal that like they couldn't be there so quick so like that part is a bit easier for you, but I can imagine it's a really big struggle for people on the opposite side of the world, especially you hear quite a lot about Australia because like once you're there it's such a big deal to get there that once you're there like you can't just pop home for the weekends or
No.
do bits like that. Like you're making a very big commitment both financially and like physically it's just so hard to
So long travel.
because you're basically spending a full day commuting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So next person I have moved to America, and they've been living there 10 years. So they've been a while away from Ireland, and they said the first positive for me living in the States is I'm able to make more money than I would working the same job at home, which is class. It won't be class when I make the move home next year and it flip-flops on me, but what can you do? Another positive about living away from Ireland is everyone fucking loves the Irish. Especially Americans. I don't need to do anything and people immediately like me because I'm Irish. It's deadly. Negatives are pretty much what I was saying to you on your last question in the previous podcast episodes, plus how most of the travel is now typically taken up with going home to Ireland for visits rather than exploring new countries like I used to. She goes, "You're doing brilliant with the podcast, lads. Hope that answers okay." So yeah, kind of previous what the other person was saying really. I just thought I like the part where they're saying about the Americans love Irish. I think that's anywhere I've been though. Anywhere I've been and people like hear that you're Irish, they automatically good reputation, which is nice. I just don't like the comparison to the States.
There's 4 guarantees in life: death, taxes, people like the Irish, and people hate the French.
I thought you were going to say the English. That too.
It's not as worldwide. I find like you'll see a lot more slander for the French worldwide. Like it's definitely a thing here that like we've got a very hostile relationship with the British.
Yeah,
I should say that, but I feel like in the States and stuff, they like the States kind of idolized the UK in a lot of like of their media. Like I see it quite a lot in film and TV where like they're kind of like put on a pedestal because I think everybody in England is like from Buckingham Palace, and then you've got like shows like Adolescence that show what England's actually like.
Yeah.
Get them to stick on this in England, and
it's a tricky one.
And then show them Hardy books over here and be like, "This is what Ireland's actually like. It's not all, like rainbows, leprechauns, and like everyone walking."
It's
by
Castle Bar, lads.
Castle Bar is where it's at.
I'm just gonna set up for the voice recording, so you waffle away there for a second.
I'm gonna have to do a bit of filler here, guys, and spiel. But yeah, thank you so much for coming in and tuning into the podcast. Like I said, I'm absolutely wrecked, so I'm terrible. I feel like I'm letting us down with the filler because I'm usually so good at my 10-minute tangents every week, But yeah, everything people have been saying so far is they're kind of like a lot of like hard truths as well. Like like being away from your friends and family is like it's such a tough thing when emergencies pop up, and even just like I'm sure like around like we talked about it before, kind of like around like like birthdays or celebrations or anniversaries or anything like that, like not being able to just pop down the road and see people as well. Like it's tough, and I can only imagine how it plays on people. It's I've kind of always wanted to. I don't know. For me, I would never want to move away from Ireland. I genuinely do love Ireland. I see like kind of stuff we were talking about earlier with how nice people are, and I love what Ireland kind of stands for in terms of the whole stand up with Palestine, and how we present ourselves when we're in different countries and stuff, so I would really find it hard to live away from Ireland permanently. I would like to go off and do a month in a different country and stuff, but I would really struggle to do what you guys were doing. But it was also something me and Simone were considering last year when I got laid off from my job, where it was like, right, okay, like, can we realistically afford to move in together and keep some standard of life that isn't like, living in a house share with 4 other people or something like that, and like having a little
Yeah.
box room to ourselves. Like, yeah, it's stuff now. Luckily, it's worked out for us, but
Yeah.
we also know how lucky we are to be in the position that we are in as well. Like, we don't take it for granted. Like, we think about it all the time. We talk about it all the time that we're lucky to be in the position that we're in.
It's nice though, like that you can like say that. I think
Yeah.
it's sometimes me and Nicola talked about it before. Like you got to really be grateful for your situation, especially like when you see a lot of people at home are suffering, and not even just in Ireland but all across the world and stuff like that. And I say I agree with you on the point of pro Palestine as well. I'm really happy that Ireland as a country has backed that. I think we can relate so much to what the British did for us for a long time. But I won't go too much on the politics, guys. We're not a politics show. Anyway,
I don't go into it too much publicly because I don't know enough. I'm not
100%.
educated enough to talk to people. And then you also look at, wait, because you're not on TikTok, do you know who Garen Noonan is?
yeah, of course.
Okay,
Legend.
right. But the stuff that happened, I'm sure you saw what happened to him over the last like week or two. Like,
Yeah.
whatever about what he said, or regardless of whether I do or don't agree with what he said, right? The fact that he said what he wanted to say, and nothing that he said was too outrageously right or left wing. Like, I thought it was a very conservative opinion, and he didn't particularly sway too harshly one way or the other. Like, and the way I think that incident is going to stop people from reaching out and saying stuff that needs to be said in future, because they're going to go, look what happened to Garen. They're just going to get shut down. They're going to get bullied.
He's the one of many. Free speech is always should be allowed.
Yeah.
And I think the cancel culture that has developed over the past 10 years on the internet is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's like amount of people's careers that have been affected by something they say. Now, I don't agree with a lot of things and people's views on culture and religion and all the important topics, but at the end of the day, everyone's allowed to have an opinion.
Yeah,
you don't have to agree with it.
There's a difference between opinions and just being an arsehole. There's like,
yeah, of course,
because you can say, look, come here, I believe X, Y, and Z, or yeah, look, I believe this, but to a certain extent, like, like I would say I'm quite left leaning, but then there's also some extreme leftist things where I go, I don't believe. That's where I kind of draw the line. Like, I don't consider myself right wing at all, but I can see where you get that perspective, and I get that, like, and I think that's kind of what Garen was trying to say, where he could understand why people think the way they think, and yeah, it's I think what that's done is, like, it's gonna stop people from speaking up in future, and it's gonna have it's a negative thing. Like, it's a shame that it happened, because, like I said, like, less and less big influencers now are going to be willing to step up and speak on these things, because I'm sure, like, Garen's only big in Ireland, but it's a kind of case study, a good example,
Yeah.
Sorry, I was told to fill in for a couple of seconds while Imran was setting up, and I'm have to turn that.
No, it's important topics to talk about. I'll move on. So this person is living in Switzerland, and they had this to say.
Okay, I just read it all. I can send a voice note. Am I going to be played in the podcast?
Yes.
Anyway, I think that a positive from leaving is that there's less alcohol. We're very blessed in Switzerland that there's so much to do outside and events and everything, that we're actually not drinking as much, and that is kind of the only option in Ireland for young people. I don't have any negatives, sorry, but I'm an Ireland hater. But yeah, I think that's the main thing. Like, your life is just completely different here, because there's so many more things to do for younger people than drink. So yeah, that's it. Bye.
Wasn't expecting somebody to openly say they were racist to Irish people on the podcast, but there we go. Like we said just there,
no.
all opinions are matter.
I know this person very well, and they just genuinely had a very hard time in Ireland, and I can understand their perspective. But also I disagree on some things there too. But I mean, again, everyone's up in their
I
own.
get her point because like I've been sober for what, like 5 years from
Yeah.
alcohol, and like there isn't an awful lot, especially when it comes to like nightlife. Like Ireland, that's where I feel like it's something where Ireland really needs to work, because it is very much like, if you don't like to go out to the pub on the Saturday night, there's not like, I'm thinking like Saturday night activities. You pretty much got concerts, going to the pub, going to a nightclub. There's not that many like you remember like the Leisureplex in Blanche back in the day, like that was like, I don't think that's 24/7 anymore. Like there's not a lot of places like, I'm not saying like we need to like pop a Leisureplex into every suburb, but like there's not a lot of like of those type of activities. It's, like if you get me, like, you know, like I feel like a big thing for folks who don't drink is like, oh, like the next thing you can do is just drive to like
but if you don't have a car,
like, you know.
Yeah, if you don't have a car, like this is what me and Nicola talked about before, and I'm in a really lucky position here. Like my drinking levels, when I was younger, I was a very much an avid drinker. Like I'd go out twice a week, 3 times a week, and then I kind of, as I got older, I kind of dispersed off, and now maybe I drink maybe every second or third week. But I'm lucky here because there's so many activities outside of just drinking that you can do. Like there's a lake, I'm so close to the train, I can get to anywhere, the transport. The problem I find in Ireland is, for people that don't drink, it's if they don't have a car, or if they want to go to the beach without a car, they have to get on 2-3 times the transport to even get there. And I feel like you're saying there, things aren't open longer, 24 hours. Like I think that gyms should be open 24 hours, leisureplex, places like that should be open 24 hours. The cinema should be open, maybe not 24 hours, but open to the very late viewings, stuff that, and be more awareness for people to, you know, you can do this instead of drinking. Because I think as we get older now, like, and I've said this to many of my mates before, I tend to only see them or meet with them to have a drink. It's not like, oh, let's go to the cinema, or let's go for a walk, let's go get a coffee. It always has to be around this Irish culture of drinking. I don't think that's just in Ireland. It's just, that's my own perspective and my own view of how I was brought up.
I agree. I don't think it's
So,
just Ireland, but I think the problem is there's not a lot of other things to do. Like I said, in that Saturday night space, like, you know, like whatever about like 6 o'clock on a Thursday, where, you know, like the shopping centre, and you'll have those places. But like for like a Saturday night activity, like, you know, it's like we are kind of struggling in that sense.
Yeah.
We've
I'm
got
gonna
5
go on
minutes
to the
left,
next
so
one.
we'll move on.
Yeah,
How many
I'll
have we got
hop on
left?
to the next one. I have a couple more, but we can add it together. So I'm gonna hop on. Sorry, I forgot to say that person is living in Switzerland as well. And so is this person too. 1 second.
Filler.
Yeah.
So some of the positives I have found from living abroad in Switzerland would be the quality of life compared to Ireland. You have so many opportunities for all these different outdoor activities, like skiing, for example, that you would never be able to do in Ireland. The weather also plays a really big part. I think a lot of the girls that live in Switzerland here and come from Ireland will agree with me on this. It's much safer than Ireland. Like, I have no problem walking alone home in the dark in Switzerland, whereas in Ireland I would be so afraid. I'd have to be with a friend, or I'd constantly be on my phone. So I've noticed that, and that's a really big change that I really like. But some of the negatives I've found would be the transport is really expensive in Switzerland, but also you can't compare the transport to Switzerland and Ireland. So I understand why it's expensive, but it is really expensive. And also a big one for me is the homesickness. I think I've mentioned before in one of the other questions, but like, I get really homesick on missing out on events and missing my family, and that plays a really big part, and it does affect me, I'd say at least a couple of times a month where it hits me. But yeah, they would be the positive and the negatives for me.
Yeah. Kind of similar to what the other person was talking about, but I think the thing about walking home was interesting.
Yeah, that's something that I'm glad I can tell I know this person from the voice note.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that she feels safer, and I know it's a problem, and I was kind of more under the impression it was a kind of bigger problem worldwide, but I'm glad to hear that it's not as much of a problem over there, because it is a problem here. I don't feel safe walking home by the time. I mean, I'm a big guy as well. I'm like fucking 6'2", stocky.
Yeah.
Stocky, fat is the word. But you know, if I ran into you, you'd know. You know, if you bumped into you on the street, you'd know. But like, yeah, I don't feel super safe on the street. Like, I wouldn't walk around town with my phone out. I wouldn't walk around.
Yeah, you've had instances yourself.
Yeah, I've been fucking mugged 3 times.
Yeah, I've nearly been mugged like 2 or 3 times as well, and kind of been able to get out of it a little bit. But it's not good. It's a really bad reflection on young lads, and it's not even just young lads, just men in general in Ireland. And I'm not just saying it's men, but I'm not going to bring a statistic into it, but like, it's men. It's men, and that's the sad thing. It's a bad reflection on young men, and I think in Ireland we have to do better. Really.
Yeah, but like that program, I kind of said earlier, we talked about it a bit last week. That adolescence program is like, it showcases a lot of the roots of the problem. It doesn't show the whole problem, but it showcases a lot of the roots of the problem. Highly recommend anybody watches it. I've seen like calls for it to be shown in schools and stuff. I don't think it's like quite of that level. I don't think it'll affect. I don't think it affect if you show that to a teenage boy. It's not going to affect them too much, because it'll go over their head, you know. But
yeah.
As a society, we've really fucking dropped the ball, and like it's not even just a case of like it's our generation or it's a younger generation. Like you said, it's all men. It's a huge portion as well. It's really disappointing, because there is good lads out there, and there's good and bad with everything in any kind of group of people or any demographic, whether that's a race or it's a gender or whatever. Like, there's good and bad in all, but there's a large population of men that like I wouldn't feel comfortable leaving a child around, you know.
No, definitely.
And that's a problem that needs to be addressed. Like, you know, it starts from the top as well. Like, you know, the government and the guards needs to be a bit more hands-on when it comes to this type of stuff as well.
Yeah, and I see I've a kind of a different perspective now living abroad. The way that like young teenagers here treating the older generation is like a madness. Like, they're just so respectful. They have so much time for them. They have so much space for them. Even for just the way they carry themselves, it's a bit more maturity. And now I think that is due to the way Swiss life stands down from the government. How I was saying before, how they're very strict on the rules, but that's a reason why their economy is so high and it works so well. It's then from the top and works its way down. But like, it's interesting to see just the different perspectives from abroad and here. So I will move on to the next point. So that person was from Switzerland as well. Also very insightful, another topic, I suppose. I'm going to move on to the next one now, guys. Shaun can ramble away for you for a second.
Yeah, but like we said, like it's the whole like men thing. Like it's something that does need to be talked about more. And like the typical thing for lads is like not all men, and it's the same thing as like all lives matter. It's like, yeah, okay, it is. I think it's like less so of where it's like all lives matter. It's like, right, okay, you're just being a tick and not understanding what we're trying to say. But when people are saying it's not all men, it's a very, very large percentage of men. Like, I'm talking like 60-70% of lads, you know.
And as obviously both being men, it's sad to see, really. And we need to do better. That's all I'll say on that. So the next person moved to Malta, somewhere different from everyone from Switzerland. So this is what they had to say.
Hey Imran, sorry, I'm working from home today, so I said I would send you this voice message now. I'll try to keep it quick. So you asked me what are the positives and negatives you find from, or I find from living abroad from Ireland. The response now is very different to when I first moved away, which was 6 months ago. I thought hopefully the negatives would outweigh the positives, and therefore it would make me want to go home. You know, there's so much talk about, you know, people need to stop leaving Ireland. The grass isn't always greener. The grass is greener or where you water it, everything like that. But it's actually not the case, obviously, depending on everyone's situation. The positives, it's the best educator, in my opinion. You get so much experience that, you know, you talk to people and they say, oh, from my experience or on my travels, I actually found out the hard way that such and such happened or whatever. And it's so true. You know, learning about financial aspects, you know, having to pay your rent, pay your bills, everything like that. I know people have that at home in Ireland, but you're obviously thrown into the deep end when you move abroad, unless you have the help of family members or friends or anything like that. You know, you learn how to kind of budget yourself and everything. So that's one aspect, kind of like emotionally maturing quicker than you might have at home. I would say the diversity of your friend group and activities you do. Like normally when I'm at home, you know, I have my friends from work and school and that's it. I don't see how I'd make friends either way, unless you join a class or anything, but I'm not naturally an extrovert, I'd say. But now moving abroad, you know, I've made friends from Australia, from America, everything like that. And I just think it's because when you move away, you're ready for a routine, you're ready for some normality, that you kind of force yourself to join these groups or go to these classes and put yourself out there. And there's so many expats that they want to do the same, so it comes more natural. So I think the endless things add up for the pros in terms of, you know, you move away for, might be the weather, but then you stay for the lifestyle. And I know that's a big thing in Australia, is like the lifestyle. People get up early, people are happy or they're whatever. And whereas at home, for me, it was always just get up, go to work, come home, rot in bed, you know, rinse and repeat. Now I'm actually doing stuff after work. I have a bit more energy. Whether that's the weather or not, I do think it is, because in Malta the weather is amazing. Then the negatives, you're constantly in FOMO. You're constantly wishing you were there. You know, you get a picture from your friend group on a night out and you're thinking, yeah, picture's nice. It's nice to be included, but you're not there. You know, you speak to someone, you know, haven't talked to you in 3 months and they're like, actually, I was meaning to tell you. And it's like a big life update that you're not getting in the instant moment. Now, again, like when I was back at home, I wouldn't really check in on people because I'm going to see them all the time. I don't need to. Now I'm very conscious that I have to text people and tell them my updates, ask for their updates, or else I'm being left out, which is to be expected. People have their lives, they move on. But one thing I've really, like the most negative thing that I've experienced is that I'm in the constant battle, go home or not go home. You know, start a family abroad, start a family at home. The guilt of like being away from your parents, but then the guilt of not living your life to the best when you're youngest and trying to make these experiences for yourself. That's so hard. Like, I'm like a switch. Every 2 minutes, it's like, no, why would I ever go home? The cost of a house, the cost of this. It's so negative. And on my TikToks, all I see is Ireland's a joke, Ireland's a joke. But then I'm like, no, I love Ireland. I miss Ireland. You see a sunny day in Ireland and people are having a Guinness in town. I'm like, no, I love Ireland, best place. I want to get there ASAP. But then it's the to-ing and the fro-ing of what to do. And, you know, I know so many people have made podcasts and have done episodes specifically on this topic about, you know, people coming back to Ireland, stop.
Yeah, so I think they just cut themselves off there by accident, but
That
a
was
lot of
great voice,
interesting.
though.
Yeah,
That
a
was
lot,
great.
a
Whoever
lot
said
of
that,
points.
fair play. That was great.
They said a lot of things that I agree with, and they covered a lot of information on certain aspects that a lot of people have said already. But I think the biggest thing I took was like near the end of what she was saying. It's like you're always caught in this double tundra and double-sided sword where you want to live your best life, but then you also feel like you're missing all your friends' life. I think like the one thing I'm starting to develop as I get older, I don't know, you can probably agree or disagree with this, is like we're living through other people's lives. Like when you have a friend group and a family, you're watching them get older, you're also involved in their lives, and being away from that I find really difficult. Like I'm even surprised when I go home and I'm seeing parents and family members like aging, feel like I'm missing all of my friends' things that are happening in their life. But then on the other side, I have such a interest in life here, and things are really going well for me at the moment. And so yeah, I think that was a brilliant
I
voice
thought it was
message.
so interesting what she said about like starting a family as well. Like
Yeah.
I think that's like such an interesting point because it's something I haven't thought about because like me and Simone have no intention of having children. So like it's something that naturally kind of hasn't come up. Like and yeah, I kind of like dumbfounded. That was a great voice message. Like everything about that was kind of like hitting the nail on the head of like kind of what it summarized very well of kind of like stuff other people were saying as well, and then expanded on it as well. Like I really that was a really interesting listen, I have to say. So yeah, fair play. Fair play.
Yeah, not much really to say on that. I think they spoke enough on the topic.
Honestly, no notes is the best.
No notes. Yeah, no notes. Yeah.
No notes.
So thank you for that person. I have two more. The next person is living in Canada, so another place that's fairly far away. And yeah, I'm gonna play the voice notes now.
It's not all good living away from home. I live in Banff in Alberta, so people are very unaware of the struggles that people from different countries face. You question, the education system over here. The amount of people that aren't aware that Ireland's its own country get called British every fucking day. Like, that's a small negative, but by God, for us Irish, we don't fucking like to be called that. We didn't go through all that to be still called British. But what else? Maybe one that's because of our age or our upbringing. We're a bit different, but there's a serious amount of entitlement over here. A lot of people our age, especially North Americans, I find that everyone deserves everything, but no one earns anything. There's a real, I shouldn't have to do shit. It should be given to me. And then I'd say the biggest negative, and it's definitely not just me who feels it, but like I'm living this dream of being far away from home, but this dream could be over tomorrow if I was to get a text message or a phone call about home. You want to put all your eggs into the one basket of living a new life and everything, but for me, if I got a text saying I'm needed at home, next flight's booked, I'm out of here. My family's more important than my personal dream. And I'd say you might be similar enough yourself, that weight of what if something happens, it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. There's obviously a lot of positives as well of moving away from home. We both moved away similar enough ages, 24 going 25, just finished college. You're finally living into this, I'm an adult, you get that sense of independence. Like you yourself, Imran, you moved to Switzerland, I moved to Canada. I'm halfway across the world. My mum and dad aren't there to fix my problems. You're forced to adapt to survive, or, if you don't adapt, you're fucked. You may as well just go back home. Another big positive, maybe just in the last week or two, all the shite that's going on at home, the whole Conor McGregor election, the whole fucking doll thing. I'm just glad to be away from that shit show, It's still there, but I don't have to look at it as much. But my favourite thing about moving away is meeting so many people from different cultures, man. Like right now I live in Banff. I am living in a house with a Chinese person, a Filipino, a French, a Mexican, a Russian, and then myself and another Irish lad. So, you know, we have different food every day. We wake up to different music being played downstairs. We have different festivities that we celebrate in the house. You know, you find yourself becoming friends with people you wouldn't usually be friends with at home. You know, you get to understand how different cultures are raised, their outlook on life. Obviously, there's going to be, you know, a few clash of heads and a clash of opinion, but it's real good to be able to, you know, just see that people are different. You know, I left Ireland to get away from just life, really. I didn't really enjoy the life I was living there, and now I come over here. And people are like, why the hell would you want to leave Ireland? It's beautiful. But once again, not many people are aware of what's going on in other countries. But yeah, hopefully some of this is to use, man. I'm smothered in a cold as well, so I sound like I sound like a clown. I also don't know why the positives are being sent after the negatives, but it is what it is.
Finishing on a high note is what I would say. While you're
I think a very honest
yeah,
voice
that was
message
very raw
there.
and real. That was.
Yeah, very raw and real. A lot of frustration, I think. But I think also a very eye-opening one about meeting new people abroad and becoming friends with people that you wouldn't think you'd be friends with. I think I'm kind of coming into the cusp of that. A lot of my friends that I have made here are probably people that I probably wouldn't have been friends with at home. Nothing to do with their personality or anything. It's just interesting because as you get older, you don't see yourself being friends with someone, and then you end up having a lot in common with them that you don't even realize. It mightn't be interests. It could be emotional background. It could be just things in general that you have the same ideas and topics on. So I think from that perspective, I kind of agree with him. Nice.
There was another interesting point that he made, and it was similar to the point that was made in the previous voice note by the girl from Malta, that like you kind of have to force yourself to go and meet people, like whereas like
yeah,
I know for me, like most of my close friends like you and like no, they're all people I went to school with or I played football with or I grew up with. Like I do have friends that I've made since then that I made like just like, you know, out in the wild, so to speak. Like my drummer is a great example of that. Like I only met my drummer last year, and I met him because I DM'd on Instagram asking could I play at something, and we met at a gig, and now like we're fairly close, like, you know. But there's not a lot of examples of that in my life, and I feel a lot of people are the same. Like like when I think of my friends and their friends, like a lot of it is like their friends from school or they're like their childhood close friends. So you are kind of forced to go out and like, you know, talk to new people or like or work colleagues as well, like, you know. But even at that, like I feel like over here it's not as common of a thing. Like I see it a lot in the States where like work colleagues stay friends for like a long time, you know, whereas I don't know, like I still have friends that I used to work with and I still like my coworkers now, but I know it's not as much of a thing of like you stay friends forever. Like, you know, I only have like from like I've been working for like 10 years, like, you know, I would say I only have maybe like 3 or 4 friends that I still talk to from previous jobs. Nothing against all the other folks that I used to, they're all lovely, most of them are lovely people, like, you know, but it's just, I think it's a similar cultural thing, and I liked that kind of points that was made in the last 2 voice notes.
Most of my friends are still from school, and I've known them and yourself nearly 10 plus years now, and gone through the highs and the lows, and I think in terms of work colleagues that have become friends, they tend to be in your life for a couple of years and then they kind of drift away. That's nothing personal, and they're all lovely people. They're just, everyone's living their own lives, and as you get older, people having kids, families, house, blah 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 blah. So yeah, another interesting one. I'm sorry, I do have one more. Cool. I just want to make sure that everyone has the time to speak. This person said 3.
I think every voice note has like brought something to the table, you know.
Yeah. We've had a lot of people saying the same things, but that is also a good sign that people are aware of problems within Ireland and positives in Ireland as well. I don't want to slay Ireland too much here as well. It is my home.
Maybe we could do this for like our 20th episode or something like that. But I think it might be interesting to do a topic on people who are still in Ireland but are considering or have considered or maybe planned to move away. Because I'm just thinking of Simone. Simone, before COVID, was planning on moving to Finland. And
no way.
I didn't know Simone at this point, so if Simone had gone to Finland, we would have never met, and I wouldn't be.
Funny how things happen. Now you're living with her.
I just thought that there. I think that might be a cool episode to do.
That is a very cool concept. Write that down in the notes. Okay, guys, one more. Yes. And this person is different to everyone else. They've recently moved to Spain. So they sent a couple of voicemails. I'm just going to go through them quickly.
Excuse my tone of voice. I was literally working till 5:30 this morning, so I'm only up. But so positive, negatives living abroad from Ireland. I'd say obviously a big positive is the weather, because our weather is so interchangeable in Ireland. At least if you move somewhere with good weather, like I live in Spain, you're like majority of the time, even though we've had one of the wettest months there, but majority of the time you're promised really nice skies, hot weather, and that does affect your whole mood because you're able to do more on your days off. Even like driving to work, like the sun is such a natural, what would be the word, like mood booster. Like see the sun, I think it's in our Irish blood, sun means pints, so then obviously you're happy. But definitely the weather is a big thing for positive. Also the cost of living abroad is so much more cheaper. I think when you move away you only realise how expensive it is to live in Ireland. And yes, I think our wages are more higher than, say, what I get paid in Spain is a lot lower than what I was making in Ireland. But then the cost of living in Ireland, I was living paycheck to paycheck in Ireland anyway, so it is definitely, the cost of living is so much cheaper in other places. And also then the quality of like how you're living. I feel like you buy more whole foods here. Like in Spain, definitely, I've never eaten so many like fruit, veg, like healthier options. My diet has completely changed because you're not on the go, you're not constantly eating out like fast food places or pre-made meals, because you have the time and the energy. And I think that all relates to the weather and the way people are. I feel like a lot of Ireland is very now a culture where you work to live to work instead of work to live. Is that it? Is that the way you're saying it? Or the other way around? And I feel like when you move abroad, like I think Spain is very big a culture where they're all about, work hard, but then also enjoy your time off. But they're also not a culture to work very hard. They're very a culture to like take it easy, get your work done, but at your leisure. And I feel like in Ireland from generations, it's been always grained into us to work, get the house, get the family, get the mortgage, do this, move up in the career. And then when you take away a step from that, you're like, oh my God, like it's not that way at all. Obviously a negative of living abroad, I think Irish people are unique and we are one of a kind. And I think from living here, obviously I live in Spain, but I live on an English golf resort. And obviously I've seen the international, like we have all people from all countries come and see us. And I think I do miss a big part of home is like you now have your family and we have a certain way about us. And even like our bars are like how we go for coffees, or I think the younger generation in Ireland now is very much more like a social without drink generation, and they're trying so hard. And I think I miss that kind of, you can't have any better chat than people like you grew up with or people from home. Like when we all go out together, like there's nothing better than that. And that is a big thing you miss friendships, you miss being only down the road from someone or meeting up quickly. And then family, like you obviously miss like vital time with them, and especially like if your mum and dad are older, you're missing all that. Or even just rural Ireland, like you miss like the greenery in Ireland, or going to do a hike, and some things that aren't like a norm over here. Or sea swimming, like it's not normal over here to go sea swimming because it's always hot, so it's just going to the beach. But I think that's a big negative about moving away, is you just miss home, you miss Ireland.
Another really good one, so.
Another really good one. Kind of hitting a lot of the same points before. I just kind of took something that she said at the end, just missing Ireland, missing your friends, missing your family. I definitely go through waves of it through the months, and Nicola's the same. And it's weird because it's not something that I see around, or if I'm listening to some music or something, I just generally on a daily basis a thought would run through my head being like, oh, how's my mate doing? How's my family doing? Even just seeing your local area, it's so weird to say. And it's not that Blanchardstown and Harristown and Hunstown is like the fanciest place in the world, but it's what you know. It's the environments you grow up in.
Yeah. It's the little
and
things
like
that nobody else is gonna know, but the people who live there. Like
like
the
even
gaps,
like
the shortcuts, to
the
through
gaps,
fields and stuff,
like
you know?
yeah. And I was even saying that, like, before we started this episode, like, Shaun was telling me he's gonna treat himself and go get himself a chicken roll. Like, that is like, for me, like, I miss doing that stuff with my mates. Like, me and Shaun used to go get chicken rolls to go get our me and my other mates used to go get a Chinese together. And it's not just that we're going to get a takeaway. That's time we're spending catching up, having a laugh, you know, having the chats, listening to music, you know.
Going for pints together is getting
and like, look, I like having a pint as well, catching up with a mate, but I mean, a lot of people now, I think, and I do think it is in Ireland growing, like the culture and the social aspect of not going out for a drink. I just don't think we're there yet compared to other countries. But yeah, I'll go off on a tangent there. But yeah, I agree with that person there.
Honestly, like, every voice note that has come in has been spot on. It's really hit the nail on the head of what we were trying to kind of convey and stuff. So I just want to take a moment to say thank you so much to everybody who did take the time to do it. And yeah, like, we really appreciate it. And I think the next one where we like kind of approach it, like, we won't do this next week. We'll go back to kind of the more casual vibe next week. But I think next time we do like a special kind of episode like this where we kind of like focus on something serious for a whole episode. I think like a perspective of people who are still here that are considering or have considered, or maybe they had planned to and then they never went through. I think that could be a really interesting topic as well. Like, you know, because like I think I feel a lot of this has like been very much you relating to them and me being like, oh, I can imagine how that's tough. Whereas I think that kind of flip the coin a little bit, where I'll be like, oh yeah, this is why I love being here and this is why I want to stay here and stuff as well. But to be fair, the Irish government are making it very hard to want to stay here as a young person as well. So, you know,
lads, cop on. You're making it very difficult.
Right.
I just want to say a quick word, a few words before Shaun passes out because he's knackered, lads.
Like, the amount of times like, where like I know the screen's on the Imran and I'm like fading over here. I'm like,
anyone watching this on YouTube is just seeing Shaun going. I just want to say thanks to everyone that sent the voice messages in, and thanks for all the support. I know I say this a lot, but I really appreciate it. When me and Shaun started this podcast, it wasn't about numbers or anything like that. It genuinely was just making a podcast that people can relate to, and topics like this I really enjoy, because this is stuff me and Shaun would have probably talked about anyway, if it wasn't on a podcast. So I'm just glad that it's interesting to see different perspectives of people living in Ireland and moving away. So yeah, thanks for the support, guys. I'll let Shaun close it out.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm going for a chicken roll. That's why I am going straight to the shop. I've been
a well-deserved chicken roll.
We have been doing this for like 2 hours now. We've been recording for just under an hour, and we were prepping it for about an hour just to make sure sound was okay and like you guys could hear the voice notes and all that sort of jazz. So I'm going for a very well-deserved chicken roll because I spent all day yesterday in work and doing the gig and setting up for the gig and taking down from the gig. So your boy deserves a chicken roll, and then I'll go out and do more stuff. So no rest for the wicked. Thank you so much for tuning into The Distance Dilemma, and we will see you again next week.
Goodbye, guys.